Start it up with the Startup Nation.
Hey, let me jump to another news item, you guys. This one is pulled from the Wall Street Journal, and it's about the fact that hiring has gone down. We all know that there's over 9% unemployment. But in addition to that, it seems as though there's now a trend to reduced wages. This is a very difficult thing for the people who work for us as business owners. It is, however, there are two sides of that. On the other side of that, if you're an entrepreneur, there is a lower expectation for compensation during this time, and so extraordinary people might be as much as 20% less expensive. I think the statistics are 65 or 60% of people who are returning to the workforce are doing so at lower salary levels. So great talent becomes more affordable. And Scott McDonald.
You know, there are a lot.
Oh, yeah, Riva.
Go ahead. There are a lot more people out there available for hire. I think this is a great time for people to start hiring, think about what you're going to need and where you're going to get it. But I also think that you have to be really careful. We go through these cycles where it's an employers-dominated marketplace, an employee-dominated marketplace. So you can bring them in fairly low, but if you're going to keep them next year, when I think I'm a little more optimistic than Scott, that I think the economy is going to be really moving forward a lot faster next year. If you want to keep them, then you had best be prepared to sort of give them a raise or a bonus at the end of that time when the money starts coming in, or all the time you put in and money put into training these people, it's going to be wasted.
That's fair. Hey, Scott McDonald, you are the head of marketing at LegalZoom. You also have your own businesses. Yep. You're on both sides of this. I'm really sorry about that pay cut you took this year.
Yeah, well, you know, you see study after study about, you know, people and compensation, and while, you know, on the initial question, you know, what would make you happy in this job, what would keep you in this job, you know, almost always the answer immediately comes back as, well, more money. If I can make this much money, you know, I'll stay forever. Really, when you start looking at the data, and small businesses can't forget this, that it's much more about, you know, the positive attaboys, attagirls, the kudos, the flexibility in the position, the empowerment in the position. I don't mean to say that people don't want more money. They do. I do. But at the same time, you know, when it comes to Riva's concern of, you know, how do you keep somebody when the economy starts getting hotter, small business owners have to remember those factors as well. It saves you a lot of money in the end.
I'll say that I think we're coming to an age of realism, though, where the wage being garnished, and you know, all these things that we're seeing, it's more of getting back to a level ground. I think that what we're starting to see is not that we're going to all of a sudden go from hiring someone for $60,000 a year and next year to keep them have to hit them at $80,000 of where they once were. I really do believe that we're kind of heading towards an evening of where we should be, of where expectation should be starting at, versus these grandiose numbers that have come about over years and years of a bubble that obviously recently popped. So I think that right now the wave of fear in this country of losing your job is so much more in the minds of these folks that are being hired, rather than the converse of, oh, once I'm in, I'm going to find my way to network the way up. I think right now it's about maintaining than it is about extreme growth. And I think if we can find top people that can be trained over the course of years, get back over a longer period of time to the salary they used to make, but keep them employed in such a way they feel they have opportunity, we're going to have still the same amount of talent at a lesser price and still be able to retain.
Hey, Gerber, can we get soundbite versions of those kinds of statements?
Okay, I'll just shrink it down for you, Rich. I'll just shrink it down for you.
Riva, did you have a comment? Did you want to chime in?
Well, I agree and I don't agree with what Scott said. I think that there's still, it costs money to live in America. We forget that, you know, I live in California. It costs a lot of money to own a house, to rent an apartment, and so we can't expect to pay people below living wages, or all you're going to end up with are people who really cannot help you.
Right.
You're going to end up with
Reva,
people
I
who
don't
are
know
not
about-
trained
see,
and prepared to
living
help.
wage, though, like below living wage, like I love the fact that a CEO, you know, all of a sudden when he's looking at the budget has to make a VP make $250,000 a year go down to 125, and that's considered below living wage for for middle tiered people. Like, let's also not forget in this country that, you know, we've lived beyond our means for quite some time now, thus the reason we're here on many fronts. And I think that realization of what people are truly worth and the risk takers to benefit from how they can move us forward is a much better way forward.
Gerber, you are such a party pooper. God.
Sorry.
No, it's true, and I think we have to. It's all about the balance, and it always is, and it's always about finding that evening, as you referred to it, Scott Gerber, to get things kind of in the right zone. It's not about paying people too little. It's about doing everything you can to employ people during times when cash is thin.